the budget deal is searching for a few more votes before it can pass both houses of the legislature. For the first time in nearly 50 years, the Minnesota House is tied 67 to 67, and in the Minnesota Senate, the DFL has a one-seat majority, 34 to 33. We will hear from DFL House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman in just a few minutes, but we want to start with the GOP House Speaker Lisa Demuth. Thank you so much. We appreciate your coming in.
Good morning, Esme. Good to be with you.
I know you've been burning the oil at both ends, but let me ask you, will there be a special session?
Right now, we are really working hard to get our work done, but as it looks, there will be a very short special session to finish up the last few things that need to be done.
Okay, and there's work that has to be done in terms of the revisor and just getting the bills done. In 2019, there was something similar where there was a short session scheduled and it was over in one day. Do you see it being something like that?
I think that could be a possibility this year. There should be just a little bit left to get done. We're back on the House floor both today and tomorrow up until midnight on Monday night, getting all of the work through. And I think it should be a pretty short special session.
One of the most divisive issues is the free health insurance, for undocumented residents, something that you have expressed concern about. We do have a graphic up here that shows the original projection, 5,700. This is back in 2003 when this was passed. So far this year, more than 20,000. That was your main point.
It really was. And we want to make sure that people that are here can get health care as they need it. So that is taking place. What this actually affects is when we are providing health care for those that are undocumented here at full taxpayer expense. The projection in 23 was for about 5,700 people. That program total. Yeah. That program just started January 1st. And so from January 1st of 2025 until April 24th of 2025. So just those short months, we are already at over 20,000 people. The expanse and the extension of the amount that is being paid by Minnesota taxpayers has exploded. So in our compromise, as we were working with the leaders, all leaders, and the governor to come up with a compromise, the idea is to sunset that or to stop the undocumented insurance at the end of this year, so January 1st, 2026, but keeping children on. Those children that are here that are undocumented, we will keep those on the program. So it's a true compromise. Very difficult, but again, people that are here undocumented can get health care if they need it. This is just how it's being paid for. They can purchase health insurance on the private market if they choose to on their own.
You and Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman have done a masterful job of keeping your caucuses together. Do you have the votes to actually pass this budget agreement?
Now, in the tied House right now, it takes 68 votes to pass any bill, and we recognize that. Each of our caucuses have 67. So this is going to need to be a bipartisan vote, however that looks. I know I have support in my caucus for this and many other things, but we do have to work in a bipartisan fashion to get anything through, and we've already proven that we can do that.
And that's one thing I heard in your remarks, that you talked about how great the compromise was, and the fact that compromise is often considered a dirty word by some politicians.
You know, compromise takes a lot. And so when we walk away from a negotiating table, whatever the topic is, we know that not everyone has gotten what they want out of it. But that's what a true compromise is. Understanding the perspective of the issue at hand, understanding those that are opposed and those that are for it, and then finding out how we can best come together. The undocumented insurance piece is a very difficult one, but we've proven that we can come together.
All right, there are some other things that some Republicans really wanted, is a curb to the paid sick and safe leave and family leave. These are two bills that are going in January 1st, 2026. These are enormous bills that will affect every worker in the state, even if you already have that through your employer. You didn't get much change there.
We didn't, and that was one where we walked away from that negotiating table very disappointed. Paid family medical leave is something that employees need to be able to take the time off from work if it's to care for a loved one or the birth or adoption of a child. But the way it is set up right now, we could have employees taking off up to 20 weeks. There's a tax on all employers that they can pass half off to their employees, but it's unsustainable the way that that is set up right now. We wanted some changes. We got a very minor change.
Okay. But you did cut what do you estimate to be $5 billion?
We did. Overall, looking at the whole spending going from last biennium to this biennium, the global targets that are out there for spending this year are a record cut. We saw record spending in our state over the last 2 years. This is $5 billion cut off of the total as we're looking forward. So I think this is a good compromise. One of the other things that's a hot button is the UI, or uninsurance,
for part-time workers.
For part-time workers at schools, yes. And that we have a sunset in the education bill so far. That has to make its way through conference committee to know where we're going to land.
All right. Well, Speaker Demuth, thank you so much. We really appreciate your coming in.
Thank you very much.
Well, we just heard from GOP House Speaker Lisa Demuth. Now we are joined by DFL House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman. Thank you so much for coming on. You heard the Republican House Speaker say it's going to have to go to a special session just to get everything done. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we're about 5 days ahead of the 2019 schedule, so my hope is that we can be done with that one-day special session before Memorial Day weekend.
All right, and that in 2019 you did have the one-day special session that really was a one-day special session and got everything done.
It was all 24 hours at the clock, but yes, it was just one day.
That's true. All right, let me ask you about the issue that seems to be tearing the DFL apart, and that is insurance for the undocumented. That is a concession that you made. It was a big one. And the result was a protest outside of the governor's reception room while you were holding a news conference with Speaker Demuth and the governor. It was very loud. We've got shots of the protesters. Many of them were actually DFL legislators who were out there in the hallway protesting. Does the DFL have enough votes to get this budget deal through the ranks?
Yeah, you know, it's of course a lot easier in the House than in the Senate because as Leader Demuth discussed, we each have 67 members. Only 34 of each of our members have to vote for any bill to get it passed through the Minnesota House. But in the Minnesota Senate, every single DFL senator has to stick together. So it's harder there because, you know, while Representative Demuth and I can have unhappy members in our caucus, Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy has to have every single one of her votes to get these bills through.
Well, you've done, and so is Leader Demuth, a pretty masterful job of keeping your caucus together. 67 votes over a few sessions now. Are you going to have the votes to pass this?
Yeah, and I think, you know, speaking to the compromise, it was a demand by the GOP to settle the budget. We fought really hard. We were in a room about 12 hours a day together from about April 30th through May 14th with Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy and Governor Walz and me fighting really hard to preserve this health care. These are people who live in Minnesota, they work in Minnesota, they go to church with us, their children go to school with our children. It's a poor population. They pay taxes just like the rest of us. And Minnesota Care for undocumented folks, it's an income related program. So not everybody in the state gets Minnesota Care and not every undocumented person in the state gets Minnesota Care. It's an income-based program. So these are people who don't have a lot of means. They can't go to the private market and buy health insurance because they can't afford to do that. So this will hurt real people, but it was important to resolve the state budget agreement so we can keep the state functioning. And when the Republicans won 67 seats in the election in November, it was clear they would come to the Capitol and they would demand a price for their participation, and this was the price they demanded.
Okay. What was striking is what didn't get eliminated here, and the big thing, and it's coming in January of 2026, is paid sick and safe leave and paid family and medical leave. This is going to affect every worker in the state. This is really big, and you made no concessions there.
It's hugely popular. 80% of the public is really excited about the fact that this is coming, and the reason is, while a lot of white-collar workers have this benefit, or highly compensated people already have this benefit, most workers in the state don't have the ability to take paid time off when somebody in their family has cancer and needs to be taken care of. A lot of Minnesotans, when a member of their family is sick right now, they have to choose between staying at home and taking care of their loved one and not being able to pay their mortgage, or going to work and having their loved one not get the care that they need. But January 1st next year, that all changes, and it's funded just like unemployment insurance. We each pay like a tiny little increment, and it all added up. It's there if you need it. If you don't need it, you're pitching into the system, and if you do need it, it's there for you.
Well, I think it's also going to affect people who are on private care who may not have as good a benefit as the one listed in the state. But what about the infrastructure? I was talking to Leader Demuth before the show, and she said she doesn't think that the state is going to be ready.
It's absolutely going to be ready. We have an award-winning unemployment insurance division. During COVID-19, we were the fastest and best state at getting benefits out to people and getting those stimulus payments out. You might remember in 2020 when Donald Trump was still president and COVID started, there were payments to folks that were distributed through the unemployment insurance system. And the benefits themselves, we have a fantastic system. So it's the same exact people. It's the same exact department of government, and they have an excellent track record.
All right, and perhaps the most creative move that I saw, obviously I haven't gone through the things that you have, taking $77 million out of the future spending for the train to Duluth to pay for unemployment insurance for part-time school workers. I mean, that was pretty crafty.
Well, that helped resolve a dispute. Leader Demuth and I think it was a creative solution. Her caucus really wanted a vote on sunsetting unemployment insurance for school hourly workers. We know construction workers and a lot of people who are seasonal workers have unemployment during part of the year, and they work in their field during the other part of the year. But school hourly workers were left out. They're predominantly women, they're predominantly people of color, and it was really important for us to preserve this benefit, but important to Leader Demuth's caucus for us to vote to sunset it. So it was a win for both of us. They got the vote, and we got the benefits preserved for our folks.
Well, Speaker Emerita, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. I know that you both must be exhausted, so thank you very much.
Not as exhausted as we'll be 48 hours from now.
Okay.